I remember the first time I really noticed her, standing there by the lemonade stand on a sweltering July afternoon, the sun catching the strands of her hair like gold threads in a quilt. I must have been 15, maybe 16, with a mop of hair that refused to stay combed and hands that never stopped fidgeting. She laughed at something my friend said, that high, clear laugh that made the cicadas sound like they were whispering secrets of the world. And for the first time, I felt that quiet, fluttering thing in my chest. Love, I think they call it, or maybe it was just curiosity. Either way, it clung to me like the summer humidity, impossible to shake off. We walked together through that small town, our feet scuffing the gravel of familiar streets, our words awkward and fumbling, but heavy with meaning that neither of us fully understood yet. I remember the smell of freshly cut grass, of rain on hot pavement, of the ice cream melting faster than we could eat it. I remember how she talked about her dreams, about the cities she wanted to see, the books she wanted to read, the songs she wanted to learn on her old guitar. And I, in my youthful certainty, promised her the world, not knowing that the world was bigger than either of us could ever grasp. Time, as it does, moved on. Summer ended, leaves turned gold and fell, and soon we were caught in the currents of our separate lives. I left for college, she stayed behind. Letters came and went, slow and deliberate, until one day they didn't, and in that silence, a quiet ache settled in my chest, a hollowing that nothing could quite fill. But the memory of her laugh, of her hair in the sun, of that endless July, well, it stayed. It became part of the rhythm of my life, a note that played softly beneath everything else, reminding me of who I was and who I could have been. I think back now, sitting in this chair by the window, the late afternoon sun painting my living room gold and amber, and I can see her as clearly as I did then. It's funny how memories do that, how they can carry color and sound decades later, when the present often feels so muted. And I realized that the love I had for her, the first love, wasn't about possession or even about staying together. It was about knowing, just for a fleeting moment, what it felt like to be completely seen. And then there were my own children. I remember the first time I held my son in my arms, how tiny he was, how perfect, how impossibly fragile. My daughter came a few years later, and with her, the house was filled with laughter, chaos, and the smell of warm cookies baking in the oven. There were scraped knees, bedtime stories, and mornings when the sun rose over the rooftops and their small voices called me from sleep. Those days were relentless, exhausting, beautiful. I tried to hold on to each one, knowing that one day they'd grow, they'd leave, and the house would feel a little too quiet. And now they do. The children I once chased around the backyard, whose hands I once held as they learned to ride their bikes, have grown into their own lives, with families of their own. And here I sit, sometimes with my grandchildren on my lap, tiny hands clutching mine, and I see them as I once saw my own children. And I feel both joy and that soft pang of loss that life is always moving too fast. I try to memorize their faces, the way they laugh, the way their hair falls across their foreheads, because I know that soon enough, they too will be swept along, carried by time just as we all are. I like to think that's the thing about life. The moments we live are fleeting, but they leave their echoes. The sound of a baseball hitting a bat on a summer evening, the smell of rain on old wooden porches, the warmth of a hand in yours during a quiet night. All these things become part of you, part of the story that you carry. And in remembering, we keep them alive.
You know, I used to think life would give me a warning before it started changing. I figured there'd be a sound or a feeling, something that told me, hey, This is the last time you'll tuck your kid into bed, the last time you'll play catch in the yard, the last time you'll all fit around the dinner table. But it doesn't happen like that. One day you're holding your son on your shoulders at the county fair, and the next you're sitting at his wedding, watching him promise someone else that he'll always be there. You blink, and the years rearrange themselves. I remember when the house was loud. Laughter bouncing off the walls, cartoons on the TV, music leaking from every room. I used to complain about the noise. Now, some nights I leave the radio on just to fill the silence. There's a certain ache in quiet rooms. It's the kind that settles into your bones when everyone you love is busy living their own beautiful lives. I keep little reminders of them around the house. My daughter's drawing from when she was 6, the one where she made me look like a superhero with a mustache twice the size of my face. My son's baseball glove worn smooth from too many games in the summer sun. I keep those things close because they remind me that once I was the center of someone's world, and that's a rare, sacred thing. Sometimes I drive out to the old road just outside town. You can still smell the pines there, and if you roll down the window, the wind smells the same as it did 40 years ago. Fresh, alive, full of promise. That's the thing about places. They don't change as much as people do. I pass the old diner, the one where I used to meet my buddies after work. We'd sit there for hours, talking about cars, politics, dreams, all the things we thought we could fix or conquer. Half of those men are gone now. Time has a way of thinning the crowd, leaving you to sit with the ghosts of conversations and the echo of laughter that no one else can hear. And still, I can't say I'm sad about it. Not exactly. There's a peace in remembering. It's like walking through an empty church, quiet, still, but somehow holy. You learn to treasure the silence because it's filled with echoes of the life you built. I watch my grandkids sometimes and wonder if they'll remember me like that. The smell of coffee in the morning, the sound of my boots on the porch, the way I'd sneak them an extra cookie when their parents weren't looking. They won't remember everything. They'll remember moments, and that's enough. That's what lasts. Funny thing about getting old, you start to see time differently. When you're young, you think in years. When you're middle-aged, you think in decades. But when you're old, you start to think in moments. The touch of a hand, the light on a kitchen wall, the sound of laughter from another room. You start to measure life in small doses. And somehow, that makes it bigger. I've made mistakes, plenty of them. Said things I shouldn't have, held grudges too long, let pride keep me from saying I'm sorry when I should have. But life has a way of softening your edges. It teaches you that forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about choosing peace over the weight of what's gone. Now, when I sit out on the porch at dusk, I can feel the years behind me like an old coat, worn, comfortable, and warm. The fireflies come out one by one and the sky folds itself into night. I hear the hum of a far-off train, the crickets, and the soft creak of the rocking chair beneath me. It's all a reminder that the world keeps moving, and I'm still lucky enough to be part of it. And sometimes, when I close my eyes, I see that girl again, the one from the lemonade stand. I wonder where she ended up. Maybe she married someone kind. Maybe she had her own family, her own quiet evenings. Maybe, sometimes, she thinks of me too. It's strange how some memories don't fade. They just settle deeper, like roots. You forget what you had for breakfast, but you remember the way someone looked at you in the sunlight 50 years ago. That's the beautiful, cruel trick of the heart.